Well, there were neither.
I actually prefer doing year, month, date.
What? Yeah, nobody.
Keeps it organized. Sortable.
Fantastic. You can minimize that, please. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the final town board meeting of 2024 to order. If we could all stand for the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can you please do the roll call?
Councilman Ciardi? Here. Councilman Coleman?
Here.
Councilwoman Dindal is absent. Councilman Suisa? Here. Supervisor Nowen?
Here. Great. Thanks for joining us at our final 2024 meeting. Also, Renee, your final meeting as 2024, so I'm glad that we could be here together. We, as we discussed, we had canceled a meeting this month and wanted to make sure that we got some things attended to before our organizational meeting. So we have some business items on the agenda tonight before we do the monthly audit. So for the board and the public, we have this agenda, then we have an executive session. When we come out of the executive session, though, we're not going to pick up the stream because the only thing we're going to do, we're not going to pass any resolutions. The only thing we're going to do is go right into the audit of the vouchers. So with that, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay, we have some quick resolutions. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the contracts and the intermunicipal agreements that I circulated? Okay. Mary Lou took a look at the federal aid local project agreement. So we're gonna move forward with that because she said that one looks good. Okay, so the first resolution is, I'll make a motion that the town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor to sign the intermunicipal agreement with Ulster County for software access. That's
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Anyone want to do the next one?
I motion that the town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor and town attorney to sign the federal aid local project agreement between the town and New York State Department of Transportation as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? So just because that's a long agreement and I got a question about it earlier today. This agreement is about our Bridge New York grant fund for Project 32 Road. So that is what that is about. It basically is the next step in us taking advantage of that grant opportunity and doing the bridge replacement. So any discussion, any further discussion?
We only need that for that one, not the culvert.
We haven't received it for the culvert yet.
So we'll do the same thing.
Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. So next we have a typo here, so I just have one. It's just the highway fund budget modification. So there will be general fund mods to close out the year, but this is to do so that we can approve the abstracts tonight. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that the town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the supervisor as budget officer to amend the 2024 highway fund budget as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? So we're just moving $6,000 from paving to item 4 and $4,000 from brush and weeds part to machinery professional services. And that right there we need because we had some towing, some unexpected towing expenditures that we don't have in that budget line that we're approving tonight. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, on to discussion items. I didn't recirculate the contracts, which I apologize, I did get a request for that and I neglected to do that. I didn't get any comment back from town board members about the Cohasson First Aid squad contract. So what I'm going to do then is put together a draft that incorporates the comments that we got from members of the Ambulance Improvement District Committee. And I can circulate that. I can do what we've done in the past, which is I can send that to the squad, to the board, and then we can just receive comments and then offer it to them next week. It'll be a week later than we wanted, but I think still before we've done it in years past. Does that sound?
Yeah, this is the same, this is like the 2024 one. Revised for 2025.
So will the 2024, we amended so that it is a retro contract. So this would be, we would still have the quarterly payment schedule, and it's the question of that, the additional funding that we took from the original plan for 2024 and are putting at the last. That's sort of what we had come up with. So the fourth payment next year in that contract will be higher than the rest. But there's a little bit of tweaking that we can do based on the committee recommendations, but otherwise it is pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think if we incorporate those, it's fine.
Okay. And then for the Marbletown, I circulated that ahead of our last meeting, didn't I? I was trying to find that.
I think so, I'm looking back up.
It was sent in a Google Drive link, so I'm a little worried that I. Well, there it is. So I just realized that. So do you think I sent this? I can look.
I'm searching.
All right, so I'll circulate that now, but we can extend the contract then in a week. I'm sorry that
That's the same contract though.
yeah,
Yeah.
just for 2025 with the new
Amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. So I'll send that to. Okay, so we'll do that in a week. Well, I think next week. We haven't set our meeting schedule yet. Okay, so then the other thing is, I wanted to have presented you print copies of new local laws. I'm gonna have to do that over the next couple of days. I didn't want to schedule any public hearings or anything. I wanted to give you. There's some very short local laws that I think we can put through really quickly. But I thought, since I'm gonna be, what I wanted to do is present them to you and then explain them. So what I can do is let you know what I'm gonna do, and then I'll get you those drafts before our organizational meeting, just so you have them. And if we wanted to do any edits or anything ahead of setting a public hearing at one of our January meetings, we have the opportunity to do that. So the number one would be amendments to local law 6 of 2024. I've found a few typos. And I think we can just really easily fix some things before it causes issues. So that's going to be one of them. The next is, we had discussed in 2023 requiring stamped plans for all residential structures, like homes, new build homes. That's currently not a requirement. It's for anything 1,500 square feet or more. And the code enforcement office had asked about that for a few years because they don't have an ability to require that the way the law is written. So I conferred with code enforcement. This would only apply to residential structures. There's a little bit of a gray area with additions, so I think that'll be the part of the law that we should spend a lot of time on. Because the stamp plan requirement has to do with safety. So we don't want that to be a requirement that is applied to things that really it would impede someone's ability to do something. But when it comes to, like, one thing that has come up is the ADUs, because they're meant to be like a standalone structure. But I feel they should really have architectural, like there should be certified by an
Yeah,
engineer
it is.
or an architect for a home. Which, I think is something that is reasonable and isn't necessarily cost prohibitive. I don't know how you guys feel, but I thought we had taken care of it, and upon further digging, the amendments we did in 2023 didn't actually, and I conferred with our lawyer, they didn't actually do that. So,
Yeah, if we're gonna be expected to issue a certificate of occupancy on a structure that people are living in, we should make sure it's an engineer or an architect or something.
that's how I feel. That's how the code enforcement office feels. But it'll be a local law, so we have time to discuss, but I just wanted to let you guys know the thinking behind that.
Cause I think like the ADUs, like the ones that, like the county has plans for ADUs.
Yes.
And those are stamped,
Yes,
so.
yep. Yeah, I think it is also a thing of like, if we do this, I think it would be great to, a thing that we could ask the Housing Advisory Committee to make some of those resources available, because there are plans, like free plans available that are stamped for things like that. So, or that you pay a nominal fee. Kingston has ADU plans publicly available, but they're not, I think there's something about, you'd have to get someone to like certify them, because they meet Kingston's code, but it's not New York State stamped. So, that's one of them. Another one is, because we are planning on having our assessor only be a full-time assessor, which means that they won't be assessing in other towns. We currently do grievance day on the 4th Thursday of May, but that's something that we're allowed to do by New York State if we utilize an assessor who assesses in other towns. So by grievance day, we will likely have a sole assessor who's not assessing in other towns. So that means that we should be thinking about making grievance day on the Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday, which is what it is by law. So I want to go ahead and put this law for, we would be repealing local law 1 of 2020. It's something like they had the public hearing and everything in 2019, but there's a local law that allows us to have it on an alternate day. And basically, we just have to repeal that law.
So we're moving it 2 days.
Yes. And so it's the same process as a local law. But it's a repeal of a law. So we would kind of go back to having it be on the Tuesday.
And we're moving it 2 days because to be compliant.
It's to be compliant, and also once our assessor is only assessing, that's also the preferred day to have it is on the actual grievance day. So I thought we should put that forward. And then the fourth one, which I haven't, Mary Lou's gonna get back to me by next week, was another request by the assessor's office that Mary Lou's gonna look into. We think we have to do it by local law, but it's to make the digital record of property card records the record rather than the paper record, the record. So I did a little bit of digging.
Be the local law.
That's what Jeremy thinks. I haven't found. If we can do it by resolution, we'll do
Yeah,
it by
I would
resolution.
think so.
I
We
would-
could do it as a policy.
I would think so too, but it has to do with New York State real property
Mhm.
law, so Mary Lou's gonna look into it for us.
Okay.
But she hadn't got back to me about that, so. So if that's something we can do by resolution, we'll just do it by resolution. But those were the 4 that I was gonna present, and again, those will be like very, very short. Very technical type, laws. Okay, item C, the software for the planning board, so this is an ongoing item. There was a request was that it earlier this year? Or was it last year?
I had the presentation.
Yeah,
It might have been the year before.
last year.
When you had the 2 people from the county, that was February.
Yeah, that was this year. Yeah, so we
Well, the
had.
county, this is not the other one.
We've had, I circulated, so we've had a request to improve the support that we offer to the planning and zoning department, particularly the planning board and how they operate. And the 2 solutions that we came up with during budget season were 1, having funds for a town planner, and 2, utilizing software to help streamline the application process, and then also how the board is actually like viewing. So there's a few companies that do this. The planning board and the planning board secretary, like the one that I circulated the contract for the most. So I wanted to get a sense from the board. We budgeted for software for the planning board for 2025. I'd really like to, since we have a lot of new members, and we did budget for it, I would really like to make a decision and enter into a contract as soon as we can in 2025. So I wanted to get a sense from you guys is if the preference, and knowing that we did get quotes from other companies, but is the preference of the planning board and the planning board secretary and following the procurement policy with the getting quotes for that amount, sufficient? Or is there anything else that you guys would like to see before we enter into a contract agreement with the software company?
I mean, I'm assuming it's within what we budgeted for.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, I think that's.
Did we get comment from the planning board on it? Like, have the newer members, the newest three, gotten a chance to look?
I don't think the whole planning board hasn't done like a demo. So it's like the chair, the secretary, they've done the demos. And I think the other planning board members had expressed wanting to make sure that applications don't come to them when they're incomplete. And this is the type of solution that requires that type of thing.
And it was current chair or?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That's what I was trying.
Yes,
Great. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with going with I just wanted to make sure it was all like current of who approved, like recommended it or like was approving it, so I'm fine with that. Going with what they would prefer and are recommending. We do that in most departments if we can.
I don't like signing multi-year contracts like this. I think if we want to set it up and do it for a year, we should pilot it for a year.
did you read no,
So we can exit it.
but we can talk about it if you want to have another week to think about it.
I'd like another week. I mean.
And then I'd like to put it on the agenda. I keep saying week, I'm talking about next week. So 10 days. But- Okay, so I will be putting this on our agenda at our first official January meeting. And we will just hash it out then. Does that work, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. Next up, here's the work part. So the fees, if you guys would allow me to skip ahead quickly to under the fees, number 3, planning and zoning fees. What I would like to do is have you guys have us do an official through resolution request to the planning board to recommend escrow and planning board application fees. I wanna just kind of adopt what we have now and then amend it after the organizational meeting, if that makes sense, because I would like the escrow fees to be set by us, which is what's in the zoning code. Right now, what we did last year was we left it up to the chair. And reviewing the law, I don't feel like that's proper. I think the town board should set the escrow. I think it should be published. And I think it should be published with the applications personally. So I wanted to have you guys have us request officially and authorize me to send a letter to the planning board requesting their input and letting them know that we want to publish escrow fees that are transparent that go with the applications. Does that sound good? Okay. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I motion that the town board authorize the town supervisor to write a letter to the town, to the planning board for
Advisory comment.
advisory comments on, the planning and zoning escrow fees.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, transfer station fees. I would have circulated what we had kind of worked on, and you guys wanted to take we wanted to take a little bit more time to think about. We had adopted the permit fees for 2025, but I had made some changes to the other things. So I circulated that draft to you guys in a spreadsheet and wanted to get a little bit more feedback so that I could put this into a formatted fee chart that we could adopt on Thursday. And I would really like to do this because I'd like to do a mailing. And we could authorize it, but a town-wide mailing that puts in the new fees and that has the use policy and procedures for the transfer station, like in a mailing that goes out to everybody. So the things that we had updated is that we're kind of going based more on like standard bag sizes. So we adjusted the oh, I see, my export is really messy looking. That column B got like really squished, and you can't really see it, so you have to expand column B if you're looking in the spreadsheet. But so we're doing like standard kitchen size bags up to 16 gallons for one punch. So we're calling that small kitchen bags less than 16 gallons or up to 16 gallons. And then we have the medium, and then that's 2 punches, then large is 3, which we didn't used to have, and then we have the big hands, which is 4 punches. I did review this with staff. They thought it looked good. And I think the only comment was to make sure that all the like sizes are covered and that we didn't have any weird overlap there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a can larger than the gallons.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And then, go ahead.
Can we go back? So the discount, should that just be KFS, Marltown, and Ackworth Fire?
Oh, yes, it is. I think it just says that in my spreadsheet.
Okay, well, because the notice that went out said it was for KFS. The one that went on.
It did. Oh, shoot. That's my fault.
Yeah, because I saw it's first responders, right?
Yes, it's first responders. I'll fix that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my fault.
I just had a question about why there was such a large jump with tires. It went from like
Yeah.
Expensive.
8 to the
8
30.
to 30. I can explain that. It's
Okay.
because that's what we're charged.
Okay,
And-
I just worry that people are gonna dump them elsewhere.
Yes, so we are charging cost on those. And those are the really large tires that are multiply, so they're not standard. We get, like, as you see in the vouchers, like, we had 249 passenger car tires in this month's vouchers and 1 medium truck tire. But when we get those large, they're like the really large tires that like the highway vehicles would drive. they cost the town like $150 and we were only charging like 20 for them. So, you know, if we want to say we don't accept them, we can say that, but I feel like we would be in the same boat.
Yeah.
But this is literally, we're not, there's no markup on this at all. I mean, if you guys want to do, if you want to charge less, we can, but I think it has to be more than $8.
People are gonna dump tires, are gonna dump tires regardless. I mean, that's,
And we end up paying for them when they dump them anyway.
yeah.
So I,
Yeah. It's not live stream that. How many do you know how many you get a year typically?
a couple.
I'm just wondering if it falls on like a business owner more so than, you know,
I mean, I would think so. This is not the type of tire that
right?
just a you know. These are the really
Like
big,
Yeah.
you know, I think there's if you're do commercial trucking or sometimes there's certain tractors might have that type of tire.
Those tires are like $800 a piece, I think that. $30 to dispose of is probably.
Yeah, and we pay like for highway. If we have to, usually when they're getting tires, we're not necessarily doing this for everything, but we do sometimes get things from the highway department that the town just pays that.
And then the other big jump was the sofa. Like what was?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the same thing. It costs me that much more to dispose of them.
Those were. These are based on average weights. And with the new, so the pricing for the UCRA went up 19%, 26%, I can't remember. I said it at the last meeting.
Yeah, it was like at somewhere around 20.
Yeah, so when I was basically all of these are based on average weights. So that one, the sleeper sofa, corner sofa one is the larger sofa, and when I looked up the weights for that, on the lower end, I was basing it cost the town more than what we put in that old price. So I adjusted it.
It also takes up more space, which means more poles. We can build more
Yes,
pole.
yeah, furniture is definitely a tough one, and if something is reusable, we would really prefer that people divert the furniture out of the waste stream. So I feel like that one is definitely, it's a little bit different from the tires because some people will say, oh, but this is a good sofa, and then we're like, well, then you can, you know. But yeah, that's really, we're not like making money off of this stuff. It's, it was, some of it, when I did it, it seemed fine. And then others, I was like, it was knowing that we get these items, in like a lot, that we can't just like eat those costs. Or if we're eating those costs, it's the taxpayers eating the costs.
Right.
So I think one thing that we had talked about is we need the transfer station fees to bring in $40,000 more than they did in 2024. So we decided not to raise punch card fees, but we decided to raise the permit fees, which accounts for about half of the differential. But we do need to have more coming in for the garbage that's coming in. So how do you guys feel about, do you feel like happy with these?
Did we want to add something? We have the double vanity.
I was just.
You had, so Councilman Coleman had made suggestions for some of these fees. You had suggested that we add that with a note, and I vetoed it, but I left it for discussion.
I don't know if you have that authority. I mean, I don't care, they're just, it's bigger, it's, you know, they're usually like double the size of the bench, so. And with the press board, and everything, I mean, they're heavy.
Well, I could look up I can't remember what I used for this, but when I was looking at the price, I thought that I must have used an average weight between the two. But if you want, I can double check that, and if it seems like a double vanity is twice as much to dispose of, then I will add a fee for that.
Yeah, I don't know how many we get, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know how many we get, but I will say, the double vanity that had to go into my house when we built it, but like. Godspeed to whoever tries to remove it, cause it was so heavy, and it was like just a normal with like stone top. Like average run of the mill, vanity, so. But I don't know that we get enough to warrant.
Yeah.
Separate it. Take it
I
out,
just wanna
Aaron.
override the veto.
Take it out, Aaron.
Well, and also this is just for the porcelain.
Oh, we're only, if you have a vanity that's not porcelain, you don't have to pay for it.
I don't know, it's under the porcelain category, so,
You
Should-
should change that to housewares,
yeah.
cause that's really that.
I can
Remove
ask-
it, but if we get a rush of double vanities,
I'm not sure how big of a thing it
it'd be
is.
really big.
I can ask, like, you would be charging for the wood part and the porcelain part. Theoretically, when someone's coming through, getting charged to dispose of things. But I can double check I don't know how frequently we get vanities. But I made a note.
I do think, Aaron. That note that it says porcelains there, should we maybe move those 3 items? Up to other disposables, with everything in other disposables and just put it as like housewares or something like that. So
Yeah, I
that
think
if it
that's-
is like wooden or a stone or whatever, people can't try to argue based on material, it's free.
Or like. Um. We can move vanity up there and then have. Sorry. Yeah, I just need to double check, cause I made this chart like a few years ago and I used. Average weights of like, I would type in like porcelain vanity. So I don't know what the other things, like the ones that you're talking about, I don't know what those weights would be. So if we do that, I just would wanna double check.
Oh, I think it's fine to leave the fee the same for like a porcelain sink and a metal sink, I just think so no one argues that they don't have to pay for it, we should leave it. Generalize, you know what I mean, for whatever the. Category,
I mean, most things are either porcelain or cast or stainless, and stainless and
Good,
cast
it's
and
free.
goes in the metal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
oh, yes, they will.
Yeah.
Now I'm tracking where you were at.
I
think it's fine. The transfer station employees.
think in terms of like, there's a lot, in terms of the fees. You guys have to approve those, in terms of the formatting or how we do the categories, that. I feel like we can definitely, I can work something up, but. That is a little more flexible for the department to like,
Yeah, it's at their discretion anyway. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the person throwing the stuff away thinks, it matters what the attendee is. Looking at it and charging.
right. Not really at their discretion, but yeah,
If they say it's a vanity. And it's $14, it doesn't matter, they're not gonna argue whether it's stone or porcelain.
Mm.
Person at the window is who decides.
okay.
So we don't have to argue about.
I think the
That's
fees are
fine.
fine.
Okay. Alright. Um. Okay. So so I did wanna talk a little bit did you guys take a look at the code enforcement fees? I think this needs a little bit more work, and I don't know if there's anyone that wants to spend some time on over the next couple days, but I think I wanted to look up comparables. Because we're proposing some pretty big increases. Did you guys want to go through those together?
Yeah. Fine.
So a lot of these, if we start, and again, this is the old format. And everything that's in the yellow column is proposed change. If I left it blank, it had more to do with it just being the same. So the ones, keeping the, municipal search, we raised those kind of recently, so keeping those the same. Re-inspections, are $50, but it was explained to me that a re-inspection is the same. It takes the same amount of time. You have to go back, and so that $50 like hardly covers. So the recommendation for that is to go to 100 for a reinspection. So that's again, if they come out and there's stuff that's not compliant, then they have to come back to do a reinspection. So the in the fire safety fees, the biggest is the dormitories mostly what we have. I don't know that we have a ton of dormitories, but the $300 doesn't seem to cover like a big shared space. So that is modeled after this. The dormitory is modeled after the seasonal camp and bungalow colony fee structure.
Sorry, can we go back to the square footage change?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you reviewed that. And I think we can. So you're doubling the size of the space that they would inspect, and they can still do 1,000 square foot for $250.
Yeah, that was the recommendation from the code enforcement office. So
I don't know. I don't know why we would change that. I mean, it's a fee that people have been paying for 500 up to 500 square feet. So basically an ADU would be $250 to inspect. But now they're gonna do double that for the same cost. It doesn't seem to align with everything else we're talking about. If everything else is.
I
staying the same,
don't think that there's a ton of structures that are in that category, but I can check with the code enforcement. We did this like a couple months ago, so it's not fresh.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's fun. Like, it's probably the difference between like a 2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom. Like, you're not gonna have additional living spaces, so maybe it's fine. It's kind of like, if it wasn't broken, why would we?
Right, the old one was. I wonder if I accidentally deleted it instead of crossing it out, because the 2,000 and greater was $200. So now we're saying that 1,000 and greater is 500. Let me find out. I might have just.
Yeah, because you have it right below with a strike through.
Yeah, I remember when we first started on doing this, I remember,
Yeah, we had 3 categories before, and now we're breaking it down to 2 and increasing.
yeah.
Um,
So just,
Also, having no upper limit feels weird.
what do you mean, like levels?
No, like if you have a 4,000 square foot house or a 5,000 square foot house, you don't ever pay more than $500.
well, we're not talking about houses, we're talking about buildings with public areas.
Still. There's no, so if you have a 10,000 square foot unit, it's just 500.
So for the fire safety inspection. Yes. I think it was 200 though. It used to be 200.
Yeah, I think it's fine going up, but it's just,
Do you have a recommendation, Michael?
I'm wondering if we should have like another level. Yeah.
I have a recommendation. Because I don't disagree with Michael. I actually think we should increase that first tier of fees from 999 to 1,499. Because that's about a 2-bedroom. That's like a starter size household size and under.
Well, these are commercial.
Oh, this
You
is
don't-
commercial.
This
Yeah,
is
you don't
just
need it.
commercial. If you have. This isn't for a residential. I think we got confused because somebody said ADUs, but this is just commercial built. This is your annual inspection.
Yeah, so then.
So we don't, if you're just for a house, you don't have to, nobody has to do this if it's just a
I
house.
say we make one that's 5, so then add a tier, so I think these 2 are fine, I think add a tier that's 5,000 square feet or greater. And greater and make it $1,000. Even 5,000 is a lot of. That's a lot of building.
I'm concerned about covering the costs of that inspection.
Yeah, so we can change this however you want, so I should just back up. What we did was these are annual. All the inspections that this is covered by are annual or every other year. So the code enforcement office has a schedule of all properties that fall into these categories and did an analysis of how big they are, how long the fire safety inspections take, and like what they pay, because some of it's based on square foot. We increased the ones where it seemed like the time that it took to do the inspection was just like not being covered. Cause some of them are like 8 hours of an inspector's time at the property. And so that's what we focused on for this category. So that's where the 2 breakdowns, it was more that having a $500 like tier for these buildings for mixed use commercial. So we can add another tier. I don't know how many, like 5,000 square foot commercial space, mixed use commercial space. But we can add that, but I'm just letting you know that we were capturing where there was loss in some of the other, in the other category.
I mean, I'm wondering if we should have something where 1,000 or greater is 500, and then like every 1,000 beyond that, it's like an additional $50 or something like that. But we also have a cap on the size of.
Well, and a fire safety inspection is like really specific. Things, it's not like the building permit where we're charging for square foot.
You're saying it's not gonna vary based off additional space?
I mean, it can, I think, the assembly spaces or the dormitory spaces where you're like looking for certain things in every single space.
Mhm.
Whereas like this room being this size or like 100 square feet bigger isn't gonna change anything about the needing the things to pass the fire safety inspection.
Well, why don't we leave it for discussion with the law enforcement officer?
Yeah, I'll ask them about whether they think it would be useful to have a third tier that costs more or to leave it the same.
Or something that scales up. Like past a certain tier, it scales up X amount, the way dormitories do. Or seasonal camps are, you know, where it's $50 per.
I think that it's fine for now, we need something to discuss. with
Yeah.
Code enforcement.
So that's why the main thing we did here is dormitories, seasonal camps, and bungalow colonies are all under the same pricing structure. So those are all now would be $500 just right off the bat, plus $50 per assembly space. So that's where the main increase is in this category.
Is
Because-
campgrounds higher because of the outdoor campfires or something like that?
It might also be because of all the different hookups.
Oh, yeah, the HA, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I think definitely. Just curious.
Okay, so then below. We have. Oh, did I just like, I failed to have the old fees in here, hold on.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, keep getting ads in Excel. In the document. Sorry.
Oh,
I do what
really?
You're doing.
Okay. I like. Failed. Okay, so. What it used to be for the buildings with public areas. Was, oh, I totally, okay, here we go. It was 0 to 500 square feet was $50. 501 to 2,000 was 125. And 2001 and greater was 200. So we created the 250 and 500.
Okay,
So-
so
so-
we're accounting for the.
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I just completely failed you guys. The multifamily housing. 3 or more dwellings was $50 per unit. And here the proposal is. Just $500.
Seems on too. They have it capped. So if you have 100-unit. Apartment unit building, it's a flat fee.
I don't know if that, I don't know if that,
I think it's fine for now. I think it's something to look at with code enforcement, if like we should maybe break it down by like number of units or not in there for two different. Pricings,
yeah,
you know, or dwellings, like it's like we leave it like up to 10 dwellings is 500 and then over 10 is
yeah,
a different.
Yeah.
Fee.
yeah, I'll ask them.
Over 10 is an additional 50 per.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
then,
just don't know if they're basing it off what we have today. Versus what could come,
we can do any of this through resolution also.
so we can always add.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just nice to set the fees for the year
At the beginning
yeah.
of the year, yes, yeah, we can always edit that.
So bed and breakfast was 150. So now it's,
We have a limit on the number of rooms that a bed and breakfast can have. in town?
no, it's size, and then bed and breakfasts are legally, have a legal definition in New York State where it's, the owner lives on the property. So that there's like a difference in what a bed and breakfast is in that regard. From like an inn,
Gotcha. Okay.
which doesn't have the same.
Mhm. All right, I think-
So dormitories were 300. And then we lumped those into this other category. Institutions remain. Institutions we had at 300. Actually, I don't think we have anything that qualifies right now. So bungalow colonies were $100 plus $20 per assembly space. So now, and seasonal camps were $300 plus $2 per building. Which was not, this was one of the ones that it takes like a really long time to do those. So those are the biggest increases on that one. And then mobile home parks were $20 per site plus $200 per assembly space.
Can we back up a second?
Yeah,
Would it be like seasonal camps? I'm thinking of like worker housing, seasonal worker housing as well. Could there, if they have an exemption, could it be a lower fee or?
the seasonal camp would be a specific definition.
Okay.
So worker housing, I think, would probably be multifamily housing. But I can double check.
No,
So mobile home parks, $20 per site plus $20 per assembly space. So that one is proposed to go up quite a bit. And then, campgrounds were $1 per campsite. Plus $20 per assembly space, so they were like. This was one where another one where the cost of the inspection was just like,
Sorry, say again what it was?
it was $1 per campsite. Plus $20 per assembly space, which is like the building. But
Wait, so campground,
that went to one, went up to 1,000.
mhm,
I'm wondering if we should bring that. Down 500 for the first year. Cause that's just like a really steep
mhm.
jump compared to like, I know that obviously it should not have been at that for all of these years, but. To go from. What, $20 for your. One building, maybe two, like they had like a shower. Like a rest area, like so $40 plus, 10 campsites, $10, like $50. A year to.
We only have one campground, right? There's only one for the definition. So I don't know how many sites they have there. So
Yeah.
it might, we should actually say it might not be that much of a jump, or it might be less.
Mhm.
We should at least communicate. Without just doing it too, perhaps.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious how many sites they have. I mean, the bottom line is it should cover.
Right.
The costs of doing.
Yeah, I agree. So this is something I can look at on Thursday
Yeah.
before our meeting.
But it was the code enforcement's recommendation to move that higher, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so. I'd be
But-
curious what they think.
I agree, it should definitely cover the costs, however, if people are planning for their next year and the cost is double or, it could seriously hurt some.
yeah, and I don't know actually what this one is particular because if we just have one, then we know how much we've been charging. But also if it's, a third of the cost of what it costs to do the inspection, then our taxpayers are the ones footing the bill when the costs aren't covered. So I'll definitely look at that one.
Cause under the old model, 50 sites is 1,000, that
No,
was the 20 per.
$1 per campsite plus
Oh, $1?
20. Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of wiggle room on that one to come up. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, let's see
Um,
what the thinking was there.
and then this was the inns, hotels and resorts used to be $150 plus $10 per room plus $20 per assembly space. So we've got this one is just 500. The recommendation is to take away the per room. And just do 500 total plus $50 per assembly space. So I'm gonna also check in on that one. Cause we know we have what all of those are. Cause yeah, 150 plus $10 per room plus $20 per assembly space. So I'd be curious to see what the breakdown of what would get charged in the old charging model and the new.
Yeah, I also wonder if this one should be one where it's a certain fee for like
Yeah,
umpteen rooms and then another
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
to This many rooms or greater.
Yeah.
For these, 'cause, if we have like a 20-room hotel, it is way different than a 200-room resort for how much is gonna, how long that's gonna take, so.
Yeah. So then this was the code enforcement office recommendation for the short-term rental. That the every other year would be $1,000 and it was 400. And then let's see. Oh yeah, there's the short-term rental inspection and renewal. What does the non-owner occupied go? And then, so owner occupied are just getting annual inspections, basically. Because they don't have the permit cap. So the recommendation for that one is it's just like $500 annually, whereas the non-owner occupied are on that 2-year cycle.
So are you saying it's the same fee basically?
No, I think my understanding of this proposal is that if you have owner occupied, it costs you $500 less every 2 years.
Is it 250 or 500?
It would cost you $500 less every 2 years.
But what's the fee? You said it was yearly for owner occupied.
Basically, that's what this proposal is doing. This fee structure is adding a price for owner occupied. Where basically every short-term transient rental is getting inspected every year. But there's a permit renewal that is where we're the cap for non-owner occupieds is where that comes into play. So there's a lot more like administrative costs to the non-owner occupied permit renewals.
So, but I'm looking at what we have here, it's 500 for the owner occupied and 1,000 for the non-owner occupied.
And then the owner occupied, non-owner occupied gets, the annual inspection.
Okay, so they have an additional inspection in addition to the permit fee?
I think, so everyone, the 2-year permit for the non-owner occupied is $1,000. The 2-year permit for owner occupied is 500, and then the every other year inspection that's not part of the permit process is $500 for both options.
Okay.
So if it's non-owner occupied, you're paying $1,500 for every 2 years, and if it's owner occupied, you're paying $1,000 every 2 years. In this proposal. Do you understand?
And they don't, I guess it's a question for code enforcement, but I'm wondering if they don't want a different pay scale for non-owner and owner occupied thing. Because I'm sure they probably have the same issues scheduling. And getting the inspections actually done administratively, like that, it's probably a bunch of phone calls and back and forth of scheduling, I would assume, if it's not someone who lives on property. Especially if they don't live in town either, so. Just something else to maybe.
Do you guys think those increases are fair?
So we're saying essentially owner occupied is 750 a year. It's 250 for the portion of the 2-year permit and it's 500 for the inspection. Non-owner occupied is 1,000 because the 2-year permit is 1,000 and then you're paying 500. I mean, it's high.
The non-owner occupied is $500 a year. You said 750, but
Well, 750 because you have to do the inspection. Everyone does the inspection every year for 500.
I think that's included in. It's application / inspection. So they're both it's like every 2 years, it's the application / inspection, and every year it says annual inspection, but.
So that's every other year.
Yes. So that's why I said it's $1,000 every 2 years or $1,500 every 2 years. Or,
Yeah, well, I think we just need to clear that up because it's the way we have it listed here.
I think it's going to be confusing.
I mean, those are high fees, but they're also. I think it's reasonable for someone who's renting out consistently over the course of the year. For somebody who wants to rent out a room in their house, a couple times a year, it's high. I think we can see what people say, but.
well, we are the body that sets the fees, so if you think they're too high, then we should lower them ahead of Thursday.
I guess the question there too is thinking about the cost Like, is it covering the cost? Because if they're profiting off of renting their house, but we're eating the cost of doing the inspections. Then that isn't really. You know what I'm saying?
Personally, I think when it comes down to it, it's, short-term rentals are a business. In residence. That's what they are. This is a normal business operating fee that I think is appropriate. I think that hotels and inns. And resorts have. Similar fees for how much they have to do. They're more on the physical fire inspection side, not on the more administrative side of where our costs are landing, but. Regardless, I think that these are fair with. In the scale, and I think that these also match. Do these match with the housing committee? I think they went,
I think they are very similar
they're
to
very,
what they
I know
wanted.
1,000 was their
Yeah.
top one, I
Yeah.
couldn't remember what the secondary one was for owner occupied, but. I personally think that, I think that they're appropriate with the rest of the scale. That I'm seeing here in our. In our different scales for the. Types of businesses in town.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna have fees on anything, I think short-term rentals. It's part of what's driving. A lot of the housing crunch.
Yeah, that's you, maybe it'll encourage people to go and. Become a hotel, yeah, go do hotels or an inn somewhere instead of renting out a home that could be someone's residence.
Well, they're not paying the fee, the owner's paying the fee. But I think, it's. You're right, it's business.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, the bulk of them are. Let's say the average is. $200 a night.
I mean, but we know that people get way more. 200's like the low end of what houses are listed for on Airbnb here at night. People are making $1,000 a night
Yeah.
on some of these places.
For
so
me, I think if we wanna tax them, we should pass the local law taxing them. But for this, I think the main thing is that we wanna cover, we wanna have the same philosophic approach of our pricing. And there is, because like Charlotte was pointing out, we are the permitting authority for these, not like there's the health department, other agencies have authority over some of these others, so this is both the inspection and the application administrative fees, so I can definitely take a look and make sure that they're, like, it seems in line with our, like you were saying, like the hotel, motel, like thinking about those costs, plus adding the administrative costs, which are not nothing. I mean, we have capped the non-owner occupied, so I think those are they're gonna be a little bit more manageable, but it's like maintaining a wait list. There's just a lot of.
Yeah, I think. Visiting the tax idea would be something that's good to look at. I think if we. Which is what everyone seems to be saying, we keep this consistent with covering the costs and then look at tax. Because that way, if somebody's charging $500 a night, their tax will be different. They're paying a different amount as compared to somebody who's doing $150 a night.
Yeah,
So I think that's what I think we should look at that.
I think the tax is a good way to address some of the things that we're bringing up, the use of our town infrastructure and some more equitable way, like based on, it's not something that's hitting every single property in the same way. Okay, I think we're leaving the solar the same, but I think that was just because there wasn't a good sense of what, like, I don't think that those are,
I don't know what they're inspecting. There's probably like the main building where they have the
right.
equipment.
Okay. Then we have, do you guys want to keep going through these?
Yeah. Recorded.
So I'm looking at the 2024 fee schedule. So we have restitution surcharge, construction started without a building permit. So we had that at 50% surcharge not to exceed 250. Here we have $500. Oh, those I succeeded. Revocation of a stop work order was a 250 surcharge. Now we're saying 500. Accessory apartment completed without a permit. So basically all of those, instead of being like up to 250, they were raised to 500.
I mean, I think that's fine. These are all violations essentially, right?
Yes, these are violations.
Yeah.
Good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think the one, it looks like the home occupation, they wanted to reduce that one to $75. So, with that, they seem to think that that was a fair thing to do on that one. These business licenses for telecommunication, large scale solar, those are the same, supposed to stay the same. Public safety,
What is that?
that's like,
Because we have fees for the leasing that they do. These just seem like they're low to me for like,
this isn't, this has nothing to do with the leasing, like the lease arrangement that we have is.
right,
for
right,
the
right, but
land.
what is this?
If
Why do
it's,
we have this?
I don't think we have any of them, which is why it's not proposed to change at all, but I think it's in our code.
Okay.
We just, that there's a,
So like the solar projects in town don't have a registration, a business license.
the ones that are leasing from the town.
Mhm.
I would have to double check on that. I can look into this more if you'd like.
I mean, if we don't have any, we don't need to do it, but. Just curious what they are. Like, it seems. Yeah, I just don't, seems weird that we have like those specific business fees, but they're not.
Well, something to look into.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. I definitely can't look into every single thing before Thursday, but.
No, we don't. Need to.
The public safety permits, those have some. It looks like I started doing a better job, so there's some increases there. Any issue with any of those?
No.
Building and alteration permit, so. I think some of these we had raised. So. New residential / commercial is proposed to stay the same, but I think we raised that last year. And then. I'm just making sure. Yeah. So, those, the additions. They're proposing, the proposal on the additions is to do it the same as. like a standalone build. I don't know how do you guys feel about that? And same with alterations. Do you guys have an issue with that?
I mean, I get the thinking, right? You still have to go out. There's still all of the prep work that's necessary for an addition compared to a new build.
Might be worth, well, we have like the building. Chapter 65 is our building. And that sets what's required for each permit application. And I don't have it memorized, but there's, I think it basically, that would kind of set up what the differences, if there would, or any differences in what's required, but I don't think. I think if a building permit is required, it's the same stuff.
I'm thinking, should we just maybe make it 250 and 250? So that they're even, it's the same amount. So that there's no like arguing if it's attached or not, but it's more
Which,
What are you talking about?
they're all the same in the new,
additions and alterations.
that one, so additions and now alterations, the proposal. Is that they are both $500 plus
Oh, I see, I was
$20.
listening at.
I mean, that's gotta be a lot on the administrative stuff you're talking about. Like setting up the project, going through that. Regardless of whether you're doing a 200 square foot addition to a home or you're
Mhm.
building a new home, there's still all of that time that the office has to do. So I assume that's why they're saying it should just be
Mhm.
the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, look,
I think it's fine, it's all the same steps.
Okay,
I think it's fine to leave it.
and then the next group, the manufactured home. These are building permits, those are. The one, basically, what I was told is when you still have to inspect the slab. So it doesn't actually. Take less time when there's an existing slab. Versus. So that's why that one is the same as the single wide. Now in the new proposal. Okay. Garages. Going up to 400 plus $20, 20 cents a square foot. Um. Ag barns. Seems fair to me. Feel like $100 for that building permit is like, or.
Mhm.
You guys, I mean, everything now you can see the. Any issue with any of these increases? Decks, covered porch deck. Sheds. And then. Basically. The renewal happens if someone doesn't. Meet the time deadline. And so. That's not an annual cost. That's like if someone doesn't. Needs to renew the building permit because they didn't get their CO by the time deadline. And I think it just used to say building permits, but. What used to be 50% of the original permit cost, so now we're just saying. It's the cost of the building permit.
I mean, I almost think that should be. For the ones that have like the per square foot, it should really just be the base. Cost, but. Like if it's 500. Plus 20 cents per square foot, I think you should just pay the 500.
Do you want me to ask about that?
Yeah, cause
If nothing's changed.
yeah, there's no additional work, I mean, you're continuing permit.
Okay,
you know, that's-
okay. All right, and then our other. I'll put a note next to that one too. Okay. We have, this one had like. The least change, so this is zoning permits. Are proposed to stay 75. Logging permit. The proposals for it to go up to $500 from 200.
Yep.
Um.
With the miscellaneous. Warnings, fees, it's just gets cut off on where it's not really being.
Yeah,
I see 100 first, 1,000, and then it cuts me off.
yeah, that one is, based on the cost of the work. So if the project is gonna cost $10,000. It would be $75 for the first $1,000 and then $15 per 1,000 of the remaining 9,000. In the old structure,
And what's the new one? Cause that's all.
and the old one was 70. The new one is 100 for the first 1,000 and $20 after per 1,000. The old one was 75 and 15, so it's going up 20. 25% in the first tier and then 20% in the second.
These all look good to me. Except for that renewable.
Okay. Charlotte, was there something you were mulling over?
Yeah, sorry, I just don't, that reasoning doesn't. Paying based off of their project's cost. Yeah, it just doesn't. make sense.
I can check in, that's how it was.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
just like I put in a swimming pool and I know how much the pool cost. But like my fence, my deck or my like patio, everything else around, like none of that got done till like the following, like it wasn't a plan. I didn't have those quotes when I had the pool
Mhm.
blasted and dug, you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like the liners, like some things are like. Separate and specific, like the people who did my pool heater was a different company than who did the pool. Who
mhm.
like did the blasting burn and like the shell or whatever. So I think doing it off the job is like. I just think that's a hard. Measurable unit to base this off of, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Okay,
It also reads weird, cause I at first was reading it that your first pool's only 100 and. The pool after that
yeah,
is 1,000.
yeah,
But I was also missing half the sentence, so I'm fine with it otherwise, like if that's how it's been going and operating, I'm fine with it, I just, yeah, like I'm curious what my husband paid for our permit now, like, what did he pay for that? Cause I know we did things in multi-steps with multiple contractors, so.
right,
And same with like. Same with roofs, roof seems like a weird, like things always get added to projects too if something's wrong, so like it just. Basing it off the project's cost seems like a weird. Unit of measure,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, and
I'm
I don't
curious
know
about
what-
it, but I'm fine to pass it and then like address it next year and. Take a
Mhm.
deeper look into it.
Yeah, I
Figure
can
out
ask why
something
it's done
else.
that way. I know I've seen it on the permits, but I don't know what they use to,
Yeah, cause like, how many pay material, whatever, like, so I would have paid nothing. For this, if I had done it by itself, so,
okay.
just a
So-
weird thing, but yeah, we can move on.
So that, then there's a few, things you guys wanted me to follow up on, which I will. And then we'll have. Did you want to do 3 tiers for the buildings with public areas? Or keep it at the 2 after I reviewed what the current pricing is? I think we decided it was okay to keep it at 2, right? I didn't write a note.
I mean, I'd be curious. If the building department is basing it off what we currently have, or if we're. Potentially gonna have like a 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 square, and if it's gonna take them more time to do it, do we need something? Similar where every additional 1,000 feet is gonna add $50.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we looked at what things cost last year, and I think everything kind of fell in here, but I can double check.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
don't know if you have like an enormous building, if there's more time associated with that, or like, no, it's. You check for fire extinguishers, you check for smoke detectors, because you're gonna have more of those to have to. In a 10,000 square foot building, you're gonna have to.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think I circulated this, but, Kate. Got some background information on the dog control fees. I didn't send that to you guys, did I? I can just. Basically,
Oh, yeah.
our dog control officer. Sanctioned these increases. And I, just for one, I'm happy to blanket, accept them. But I'm just pulling them up right now. None of them seems unreasonable.
The biggest one that I wanna figure out is like people leaving their dog. The pounds,
Mm-hmm.
And go on vacation?
yeah. We need to fix that.
What does that fall under, do you know?
Well,
Just
what
the board?
happens is she picks the dog up and they're on vacation and they'll deal with it when they get back. It's not like she puts a dog in there, someone's going on vacation and she's boarding it.
Mhm.
But those have been instances, several, where that's happened, so I don't know how to get around that. Cause I don't know if there's a law when she identifies who the owner is. Is there like a step, cause after 7 days, she could put a dog up for adoption.
Hmm.
But if you know who the owner is, I think that's.
Mm-hmm. So, right,
Dog's getting out?
Dogs will get out, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know just this past summer of a dog that got out, the woman left for vacation and she didn't care. She said it was just as cost effective to leave the dog at the kennel as it was to pay someone from there.
And there's a per day, if your dog gets arrested,
So the redemption is if the dog is picked up. And why she increased those, a lot of it has to do with gas pricing, because this is based on 2014 and she will drive all over Ulster County picking up dogs. So I think that was the biggest reason why she wanted to increase redemption slightly. Boarding is currently $15 a day. She recommended 20. And if you go to other places, they're anywhere from $50 to $60 a day.
You should at least do 25.
I
I'd
think
say
for her, the biggest thing is a lot of the times the dogs that are in there, she wants it to be affordable so that people can get the dogs back out.
Mhm.
So I think that's why she wanted to stay within those price ranges. And the only thing that she said really has to change is the the rabies cost. So if there's a dog in the kennel that the owner doesn't have a rabies vaccination for, and the town has to go get it vaccinated before the dog can be released. We charged $24.
But it
We
costs
get
54.
charged 54.
Mm.
And $24, you're not getting that for a rabies shot at a vet anyway. You know,
Yeah,
so that's where her understanding was with the fee increase.
yeah, so we have first redemption is currently 20, suggested to increase to 30. Second is currently 30, suggest to increase to 50. Third is currently 50, suggest to increase to 75. Fourth redemption and thereafter is 100.
So if your dog gets arrested,
So,
yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
It's a danger to other people to have a dog getting assaulted.
yeah, I think for multiple offenses. Certainly, I think the first redemption, it could like happen to any of us.
Yeah.
But if someone's like has a chronic issue, it means they're not managing their,
I'm not even talking about like aggressive dogs, like crossing roads, like people driving.
Oh, yeah,
and trying to avoid them, it's.
I know some of these dogs. They're very nice. But.
What did you say our fees were again? The new ones, the proposal.
30, 50, 75, 100. Are you looking at other towns? Oh, I forgot, I thought I forwarded this to you guys and I didn't. I'll forward it to you, and if you guys wanna take a look and have any suggestions for changes, we can do that. And if you have any ideas ahead, and I can try to talk to Jill, or you can call Jill yourselves too, and see if she thinks if anything, I feel like we should increase more.
Yeah,
That I don't think we should not
Yeah.
increase any of these. Boarding is currently 15, the suggestion is to increase to 20.
Does she have a reason why she doesn't wanna go higher with that either?
I do think she deals with a lot of low poverty
Yeah.
people. So she wants it to make it where it's affordable for people to get a dog back.
And the boarding is also like at our outside kennel, it's like,
Yeah, and we're feeding them, it's
Yeah.
water, it's heat, it's
Oh, yeah,
air conditioning, it's.
walking.
Yeah.
chicks like that.
but that is that something that anyone could do, or is that just if it's a redemption?
Just redemption.
Yeah. So that's like $30 plus $20 per day. Would be. But it is. Like, we have. Staff tending to the dogs. Every day of the week. For those, and then rabies,
what does it cost to get a dog chipped?
I think it's actually pretty reasonable,
I wonder
like
if we could,
$35-40.
I wonder if we can have something where we like waive it. If you agree to get the dog chipped or something, like, do we have these dogs staying there that long because we can't identify the owner?
well, after 7 days. If the owner's not identified, they go up for adoption, there's no redemption fee or boarding fee recovered.
I guess what I'm wondering if we can incentivize people to get the dogs chipped to make it easier to locate the owners. So I assume a lot of these are like collarless dogs, where it's like, I don't know, like Jill knows a lot of people's dogs, I'm sure, but. If you know, they don't want to pay the fee, but they'll get the dog chipped, and the next time it gets away, it'd be easier to potentially find them. I'm just wondering if there's ways we.
Very creative thinking, I don't think we're gonna figure
Thanks.
that out before Thursday.
I agree with
but
getting both set,
I,
and that's the only reason.
I'm happy to make you the dog liaison.
Could I do that? Is that a thing?
And you could
I would absolutely be the dog.
make
man.
some proposals for next year. And then what do you guys think? The rabies, we're currently losing money on those.
Yeah, they should pay what it costs us to get the dog.
So that's what the proposal is basically charge what it costs.
Mhm.
Okay. I wanna talk to Jill about that, cause I'm like wondering if the cost of taking the dogs to get the shots and like, I wonder if we should have a little bit more because there's like
Travel.
a travel, like there's more cost to that than just the bill from the vet. But if that's covered by the redemption cost, then maybe that's okay. So I'd like to ask her about that one. Okay. Right.
We board.
Yeah.
We board dogs from other towns though, right?
We do, or we can, if we have a shared services agreement.
And Julie with the other towns that Jill
have.
covers?
We have a town that would like to do one again. But I'm working that out with them and Jill before I bring it to you guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, cause I'm just wondering if. Where the town is picked up in charge, you know, for
So,
its boarding.
Like right
Yeah.
now, we have New Paltz dog in there.
Mhm.
The redemption fees will go to New Paltz, but boarding fees would go to Rochester.
Yeah, okay, cool, I wasn't sure if that was how it worked or not, like if. With us being the ones boarding the dogs, if that, or if it was just. We took them and we keep them, you know,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah, we
Why do the
should, I
redemption
should,
fees go to them? We're paying for the mileage. Doesn't make sense.
well, no, well, the towns pay. We split everything up. So we don't pay for mileage. If for a dog. We're not necessarily paying for the mileage to pick up a dog in New Paltz.
She's submitting the mileage to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I can, I have been wanting to gather all these different shared services agreements together and take a look at them and make sure that we're. But there's all the, it's different, there's like all these different things. Okay, meeting dates, so. I'm basically, right now, we're kind of reviewing the organizational meeting agenda, so. I should say that I submitted a draft to the board, last Thursday. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna circulate an updated version that fixes some typos. And that inserts a little bit more information, and then that agenda will be the one that gets posted. So for the meeting dates, I didn't put in the meeting dates. I think I put in second and fourth Thursday, so I just wanted to talk to you guys before I do that. Does that sound workable? We would have our business meeting on the second Thursday and our workshop meeting on the fourth Thursday. Unless it conflicted with a holiday.
Yeah, I think that's fine, but didn't we flip that because we wanted the workshop before the business meeting?
I think it doesn't matter as much if we're doing it last. There's gonna be 2 weeks between meetings, and I felt like the fourth Thursday might, I don't know, I was thinking the fourth Thursday might be weird for the business meeting, but.
But the concept is still, we would do a lot of the work during the workshop and then business
Yes,
meeting would just be resolutions. So
Yes,
should
that
it
is-
still be before?
Well, like the end of December is gonna be February's business.
yeah, that's
meeting.
what I'm saying. The last.
I mean, January, so
That's
like
what I was-
January's, workshop would be
for-
February's
would
meeting.
be February's
Okay.
business meeting. Yes. That's what I was thinking, that it doesn't matter as much,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's only two and it's every other regardless,
right?
unless we cancel. Everyone loved Thursdays still. I was gonna try to.
What do you want?
I don't know, I just like to shake things up.
I'm nervous to shake
I don't
things
have a
up.
job right now, Michael. This is
Our-
the only one, so I'm just
our-
trying to get creative
The
here.
space schedule is so tightly tuned to Thursdays being a meeting night that I would be worried to change it without consulting the rec department, because they have stuff that gets scheduled throughout the week that we're not even aware of.
Mhm.
Like basketball signups, and there's like all kinds of stuff that's happening. So
No, you're fine. I was just curious.
if Thursdays are
Really don't
good.
get the town in an uproar.
I do, I want to.
I know.
That's my goal.
I know, it's like, it's like, we're gonna do what?
Yeah, we're having Sunday meeting.
I'm fine with Thursday. I would also, if people wanted to consider Monday, I could look at Monday, but. I think it's fine keeping.
I think it's fine. Yeah, we also just haven't had best attendance record for quorum all year, whether it was from resignations or whatnot, so I was aiming for, better attendance. in
Monday's my
2020.
Friday
fault, 'cause a
night's
lot
great.
happens between Monday and Thursday for a
Friday
Thursday
night.
meeting.
Friday night. Good food.
Mm.
Nice.
It's not gonna be a clerk anymore. You do have to say, because you are clerk. So.
Thursday, everyone's good with Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Forget I said anything, guys.
I definitely, when we have more meeting space availability, I
Yeah.
think we should definitely think about what works best. But second and fourth feels good. Okay. That
2 meetings.
2 meetings feels good. What we're planning on that is, well, this is my plan. I have not gotten consent from you guys, but what I'd like to do, got this idea from a couple of the other towns where they assign the audit of the bills to 2 board members. And it alternates. So that those 2 board members would come in on their own time and do the individual audit. And then we approve the abstract at the meeting. So there's no group audit.
I think it's good use.
This is a great use of time for people.
And that would be what the other, that those 2 board members could coordinate that directly with our bookkeeper. So I don't even really have to be involved. It's just whenever they're ready. But then it doesn't have to be the same 2 people. And then I think also doing it that way, we're not requiring 5 people to look at 100 invoices every month. Which I think it would be nice if we could take turns. I mean, I
say
don't,
We should split shifts. We should do 6 and someone gets January to June and.
yeah, we could
July
do,
and
yeah, I want you
December
guys
type
to
of thing.
decide, because I don't have a choice in the matter. I have to look at all of them anyway. But I think making it more sustainable for the board. But then, yeah, we would just be approving the abstract, so that's what we do at the end of the meeting with the resolution. We would do that, that has to happen in a public meeting. But the actual signing of them, doesn't have to happen by the full board, and we would just be agreeing to trust that,
The 3 people who've reviewed it.
Mhm.
and it's 4 because our bookkeeper. And in the highway case, it's 5 because highway secretary also reviews them, and the highway superintendent, so it's 6 for highway.
It's a good idea.
Okay,
It's how it used to be done.
Yeah.
It works.
We should have a little desk in your office.
okay.
For the board.
There will be a little desk.
Small desk.
But then you'll have to come when the 3rd person is not working, so that you're not taking a desk.
Or work at your desk.
Correct.
Or work it out.
Were there any other agenda items from the organizational meeting that you wanted to discuss before Thursday, or anything that you thought that I missed that you wanted to be included?
I just need to double check something. For the rec commission, but I think it was.
Yeah, that one, actually, we need to, one thing, I've started contacting all of the appointments for the voluntary appointments to make sure that people are wanting to do those still.
You mean for all of the committees and that we have? Okay.
For the chair, vice chair appointments that we make.
Okay, I have to survey the house still and see. If anyone is jumping ship before the. New year, because they all. End. All of their terms end. Tomorrow.
Oh, okay, right, you have been ringing the bells on that. This whole time, for I thought the things that we'd probably spend the most time on. Would be our rules of procedure. I just put the same ones in there. But I thought, you know, if there's anything. That and the ones where are the time for backup, like I want to do a better job of that stuff, so. I think whatever you guys need is what I'd like to do. So I just put in what we did in previous years on those. Just give you guys a couple seconds and then we'll move on if there's nothing else.
Oh,
There's still an opportunity to bring amendments on Thursday, but. Okay, still thinking.
I'm just trying to, I'm just sure this isn't this, I'm trying to find the resolution, did they let you know changes of any positions for the Recreation Commission for next year?
I think there are some.
Yes. Oh, okay, cool, I just wanted to make. sure
And
we
that
got
was-
those ahead of time.
Yes, I should have those ahead of time. Hopefully.
Okay, I know,
You do.
I do, yeah,
Oh, perfect.
yes,
send them to
yeah, I know who it's,
Okay, I see what you're
I'll
saying.
confirm in the morning,
Yes,
but
I was
I don't wanna
gonna-
say them now because I wanna make sure that everyone involved, knows.
Great.
Those
I was
really-
gonna call you tomorrow to
Okay, no
ask
trouble.
you if you knew of, so great.
I do know, I just wanna make sure I don't get it. Mixed up because my mother's the one who told me. so.
Oh, okay,
I
great.
heard-
Yeah, I was gonna call.
Afterwards, you can tell me, because then I can tell you who I was told.
Okay.
And then we can compare secrets.
I know about the need to have changes,
Yes.
but I don't have any specific information. Okay, so,
Unbelievable.
It's not gonna be my
Talking
mom.
riddles over him.
all right,
It's not gonna be my mom.
Okay.
That.
Michael.
Do we need to were you gonna follow up with the county on the new position to see for the supervisor's office?
Yeah, I was going to.
Is there something? So we don't know if we have somebody. Yeah.
I
I was
don't,
gonna say,
no, I don't. It depends on how we structure the position.
we
But
don't have anything in here about that position yet. right?
no, because I don't, it will be funded in the we are going to fund the position. It will be a vacant position. So everything that's funded, but we're not appointing, we have like 3 things that are gonna be funded but not appointed. We will adopt the pay scale and everything.
Mhm.
And in the case where it's a vacancy, we'll do that, but if it's a case where, for example, we have one department where we're building in a supervisory position. And that's not gonna happen at the organizational meeting.
Okay.
So we won't fund that because we don't have the budget to fund it until we are moving someone from the, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, great. It all has to do with the budget.
Only the things that are actually approved of in the budget. that we
Yeah,
have
basically,
in the
yeah,
Budget
it's
on their
very-
proper budget lines are
Yes.
actually putting in there, and then the ones that we have people for, they get.
Yeah,
do that.
it's very, very budget focused, what we're doing. Okay, so any follow-up from our last meeting? Okay, other matters, I just want to, okay, so I was gonna advertise our vacancies in the paper, but the schedule is totally different. So you had said that I should take out an ad where I put the 15th as a deadline. And I was gonna do it in the Bluestone Press, but they haven't had a paper until I think their last paper was before Christmas. And then their next
yeah,
issue is coming out next Friday, which is the 10th. So can we bump that deadline so that it's 10 days later? And then we'll do interviews and everything in February? Okay. Great.
Oh,
I mean, we can start, one thing I was thinking is if you guys wanted, we could, if we don't want to interview as a whole board, we could do an interview committee, if you guys wanted to do that for some of the slots. But that, we can talk about that at our next meeting, but just something to think about. Because it's getting late and everybody's starting to yawn. Okay.
That was a sign.
Huh?
That was a sign.
How'd you
No,
know
it
so
was,
about you?
it was a yawn.
Okay. All right, moving along, anything else for the rest of the year?
Happy 7th night of Hanukkah, hope everyone had a great.
Is it the 7th or the
holidays
6th?
and Happy New Year.
The
Is it 6th? I miscount. In my defense, I have a toddler who takes out my candles off the baking board. It's count of every day. A happy 6th night of Hanukkah, my correction.
Sorry, it's a lot.
And yeah, that's all I got. Happy New Year. Everyone be safe.
Yeah. Do we have a motion to enter into executive session?
I will make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss I'm gonna do that after, at 8:38.
Okay.
And to discuss matters regarding medical history of particular employees, matters that lead to the appointment of a particular person, matters that lead to the discipline or removal of particular persons.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, and Charlotte was after that. vote. Okay, so we stopped the stream, Michael. So we are not coming back on because we're gonna audit those.
Is it also under more?
Well, you can end the meeting.